place. Ain't nobody crying. Ain't nobody worried. Ain't no smiling faces lying to the races. I'll take you there. I know a place. Ain't nobody crying. Ain't nobody worried. There ain't no smiling faces lying to the races. Oh, won't you help me, babe? I said, now won't you help me, babe? I'll take you there.
It was the music of Muscle Shoals that made me aware of the greater breadth of what is Americana music. So from that regard, the sound of Alabama was critical in the evolution of the Americana genre.
So, why are we here in Nashville?
We are here in Nashville, Tennessee. We're here for Americana Fest, which is a showcase festival for artists from all over the world who play a genre which we call Americana. We come from the UK, so we come with a bunch of UK artists. There's Rob Vincent, Lauren Housley, the Northern Cowboys, Lady Nade, Michelle Stoddart, and there's St. Catherine's Child.
So where does the road lead next?
Well, our road leads to Muscle Shoals.
We're standing right outside my favourite pizza joint. This is 5 Points Pizza. We're performing at this year's 30 Tigers Gospel Brunch, which is part of the Americana Fest. It's just a huge celebration of music that's kind of got inspiration in some way from gospel music. So we're on our way to Muscle Shoals right now. Yeah, it's very surreal actually. We're just about to hop in the car and travel to Muscle Shoals.
I am gearing up to get in a car and be driven to Muscle Shoals, and it feels quite exciting to just have just said that. I grew up with the likes of Aretha Franklin and gospel music, listening to my granddad's rock and roll mixtapes, so I'm really excited to go to the place where this history of music has its origins.
I think Alabama music is roots music.
I think about, a lot of country, and not like Nashville country, but like down home, like, blues and the suffering that they had down there. They wrote about it.
It's like a big melting pot, really. I think it's interesting with Alabama geographically, with it being the sort of middle of this triangle of like Memphis, New Orleans and Nashville.
It's that mixture of soul and country and there's a real warmth to it, that rural warmth that you kind of only get from places like that.
I suppose the point of it is that Muscle Shoals became a musical centre after those other ones had happened. That Muscle Shoals event happened in the 60s, whereas the other stuff had been happening in the 50s. So Muscle Shoals, in the end, becomes the place where you get a blend of them.
We're here at Muscle Shoals, baby!
We're ready, baby. Ready for something.
I think I'd use the word mythical. All I knew about it came from the back of album covers, that you'd see this name of a place what's a Muscle Shoals? What's one of them? Bit by bit, I learned more and more about it, and then realised it was in the south and it was in somewhere that was relatively rural.
I thought it would be flat, sort of delta country. It's a lot more undulating and visually, like, just looks beautiful.
I knew it was something that was quite different from where you'd expect to find a recording studio.
The Shoals is 4 towns. Muscle Shoals is one of them, and there's Sheffield, Tuscumbia, and Florence. Call them the Quad Cities or the Shoals.
Every city's got their own police department, fire department, own government, and everything. They won't merge. The river divides us big time.
The singing river, that's what we call the Tennessee River. The natives used to say that the river sings, so even the river sings down there.
There's something very special about it in terms of the music. So many iconic songs and recordings have come out of that place. I'm excited to see it for myself and just kind of see what's floating in the air.
The history of the Shoals is present everywhere in the Shoals. We're so proud of the history, so it's gonna be in your face.
My name is Linda Hall, and we are at Fame Recording Studios in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. This is the studio that my husband started in 1959 in Florence, Alabama, and he progressed and moved from Florence to Muscle Shoals and has been here ever since.
It's kind of like a time capsule, wasn't it, really? It was every picture and every video that you've seen or every bit of footage that you've seen from in there. It just had something that all of those special rooms have, all of those special places have.
This building was the first professional recording studio built in Alabama. The first hit records in Alabama was cut here. And I understand it's one of the longest, the oldest recording studios in the world under the same ownership, still in operation.
I walked into Fame Studios, turned to my right, and Rick Hall was just sitting in the room holding court in the corner, quietly. And of course, what happened at Fame Studios became legendary, and what happened in Muscle Shoals became legendary.
We never dreamed it would be what it is. He was just doing what he loved to do. And I laugh and tell everybody, I tried to get him to stop. I didn't want him to do the music industry. I wanted him to go to rentals and work, have a normal life. But I never would give him an ultimatum. I would never say it's that or me, because I knew he'd choose the music.
My dad worked, and he would bring home these guys that he worked with, and just so happened they were Wilson Pickett and Aretha Franklin and Etta James and those type people. So it was, while it was, looking back on it, it was amazing. You know, at the time I didn't realize what was going on. I was just a kid, and it was just my dad's work.
When I told him I didn't want him to do it, he said, well, give me 2 years. And if I hadn't had success in 2 years, I'll quit.
Take me to heart.
Really trying hard to make inroads in Nashville as a songwriter and as a producer, and it just wasn't happening. And he just kind of said, well, screw it, I'll do it here, which to try to be like, I'm going to do it here in small town North Alabama in like the late 50s and early 60s. I mean, it's pretty insane. And why Muscle Shoals even exists as like a music recording place is because of Rick's sort of stubbornness and work ethic.
First thing cut was You Better Move On by Arthur Alexander. So I'd lost before we got started.
The impact the Swampers had on the entire world, well, you can't put it into words.
The Swampers are sometimes referred to as the Muscle Shoals rhythm section. You've got David Hood on bass, Barry Beckett on keys, Roger Hawkins on drums, and famously Jimmy Johnson on guitar.
Jimmy Johnson was Rick's secretary. And they were all playing in fraternity bands. Rick had them coming in, working from 9 to 6 every day, punching the clock, doing demos, and teaching them to become studio musicians.
They weren't egotistical people. They just wanted to make the best record for each artist.
They were called the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section until 1973 when Sweet Home Alabama came out. That's when they were dubbed as the Swampers.
Those guys eventually become so popular that they decide they can break out on their own, and they start their own place at Muscle Shoals Sound Studios.
It was war.
4 young men with just some talent and passion and determination turned this tiny concrete building into one of the most influential recording studios in the world. All the Swampers poured everything they had into the moment. And their only goal was not to glorify themselves, but to make the artist sound as good as they could and to become the band for that artist. And that was their key to success. When you think about the same band, the same rhythm section played on every one of these records, and that means Cat Stevens to Leo and Hound, to Rod Stewart, to Traffic, to Linda Ronstadt, to Bob Dylan, to Levon Hound, to Peter Yarrow, to, if you just look, Leon Russell.
It's actually in Sheffield, Alabama, but it's right next door to Muscle Shoals.
The architecture alone, because it's just like this little blank building on Jackson Highway, and you'll pass right by it and not ever have a clue that anything ever took place there. But when you see the sign and you walk in, it's gonna be a kick-ass situation if you find yourself recording there.
The room is magic. It's proven in all the hit records that came out of here and all the soul that happened in here. You can't have that much talent in a room this small for a period of years without there being some residual mojo seeping through these cinder blocks.
Fame definitely has the more commercial feel to it, whereas the Muscle Shoals has that vibe of a living room that you just go and sit in and jam with your friends,
These historical moments that were captured and these iconic performances that happened in that room, it was just a moment in time that ended up continuing through generations and inspiring artists and people from all over the world.
David Hood is the lone survivor right now of the Swampers.
David's sort of like the godfather in many ways down there.
David's my soulmate. I retired when I was 55 because I wanted to write David's book. Every day from the time he was about 18 or 19, he played the bass until he was about 75 or 76.
I just remember David was particularly open and welcoming. He, in many ways, made it real possible to connect with Rick and to connect the dots to 3614 Jackson Highway.
You could see why they made the music they did, because they weren't flash and they weren't egotistical. They were just players and they just wanted to play and they just wanted to get it right.
People ask me all the time, who is David's favorite artist to work with? And David always says, it's the one I'm working with right now. It's the one, because his heart and soul are there in the moments.
The influence is huge because it influenced the Beatles, it influenced the Stones, it influenced the whole generation in the 60s of musicians to pick up their instruments and write a song. The main one is the Stones, really, and actually getting to record Wild Horses in there.
And the rest is history, I guess, because Keith Richards wrote Wild Horses in the Bog.
Definitely heard a lot of it around the house, like my mum playing Aretha Franklin and iconic artists like Etta James and
the staple singers. Boz Scaggs, Skinner's First and Last was a big one that I kind of came across the Sticky Fingers tracks that were recorded at Shoals and the Odetta records, and the Cher one was the first thing that got cut there. Some of them are still talked about now in Cher's back catalogue as being her, really iconic tunes.
First, I want to welcome you all to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. We are so excited y'all are here. You're going to see a lot of things that you had no idea originated in Alabama, a lot of people, a lot of sounds, a lot of songs. We have just got an abundance of talent in the state of Alabama, and that's what we do here at the Music Hall of Fame. We celebrate those folks who have made a significant contribution to the world of music, and not just in the United States, but all over the world. Tammy Wynette, she was the queen of country music. Nat King Cole. Lionel Richie, I would say, would probably be one of our most famous inductees. All right, we'll move on into the museum now. So much of Alabama music is so deep-rooted into everybody else's music.
Even the artists who aren't famous for the Alabama sound, but are from Alabama. Brittany Howard, Emmylou Harris, Hank Williams.
The Blind Boys of Alabama, Candi Staton.
first lady of Southern Soul, really. That's what people call her.
I talk to her real often. She's a special lady.
I was born in the church, and I guess I heard the music when she was carrying me. And I started singing at 5 years old. God put something in me. He put something in me that I didn't even know I had. But that's how it all got started, right here in church. And my sister and I used to harmonize in the band together. And we started drawing crowds. We went all over the country, all over America, and sung gospel as little children. And we sung with Sam Cooke, Lou Rawls, Aretha Franklin, staple singers, you name it, for Blind Boys. Everybody was there with us, and Nightingales. And so I've been singing gospel all my life. It's just in my bones.
Yeah. She came here when she was 18 years old. Clarence brought her here. Clarence Carter had met her at a club, I think, in Nashville somewhere. And he was recording with Rick, so he brought her down here. And Rick started recording her then and recorded several albums. She did Stand By Your Man, country song, and they did an R&B version of it. I'd Rather Be an Old Man's Sweetheart, It's a Young Man's Food.
George Jackson wrote that one for Aretha Franklin. That song, I'd Rather Be an Old Man's Sweetheart, sold 750,000 copies. They thought it was Aretha.
I'm Just a Prisoner, Victim of a Foolish Heart, In the Ghetto. Now you're talking about ripping your heart out. Listen to her sing that. Rick could take these country songs and make them into great R&B songs, and she was just that person to do it.
I almost gave up, and then You Got the Love came out. Sometimes I feel like throwing my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you got the love I need to see me through. Sometimes it feels the going gets rough. Things go wrong no matter what I do. Now and then it feels like I am so all alone. But you got the love I need to see me through. God knows how to wake people up, doesn't he?
Yes.
Like, You Got the Love. He wasn't ready for me to give up. And it came out and it started getting bigger and bigger. And then Young Hearts Run Free came out. It's like an older woman teaching young people don't make the same mistakes I made. That's all it's about. And it's a sad song. Honestly, it's a sad song and nice music. And then it just broke wide open. So I started doing these big festivals. And I thank Europe to this day that they revived me, restored me through the help of God. Yeah. I love it over there, and I still go. And I will be going, and I'll be doing what I'm doing as long as I'm able.
The Swampers were here from 1969 to 1978, and of course this was Alabama in the late 60s. And while we did not have the racial tension like they had in Selma and Montgomery and Birmingham, we were, it was not integrated. And so what was happening is the studio's an oasis. There's no black or white. They were just good friends making joyous music together.
It was only who can sing the best, who can play the best. It's not what color is your skin. It didn't matter. But Rick made sure that it wasn't a problem, too. That nobody was going to be judged by the color of their skin. And it's still that way.
I think like Muscle Shoals and Stax back then were models of like at a time when people were saying, black people and white people can't work together and they can't coexist. They were like stark examples of like, well, I think they can. Like, this seems to be working just fine.
Everyone's just there because they're great players and they're good people.
Diversity in bands is almost a necessity in Alabama. We're talking about a place that's significantly, white.
In the studio in Muscle Shoals, you had a diverse mix of backgrounds: black, white, straight, queer. male, female music makers coming together in a time of segregation and forming unity and connection and community, which created the sound of Alabama. Visual representation for me is like so important. When I was able to discover someone like Aretha Franklin, I was like able to finally see myself in a space that I could explore.
Yes. It resonated and it made an impact. Willie Mae Thornton was inducted in 2020. She was actually the first female recording star that recorded the song Hound Dog that Elvis made popular. You ain't nothing but a hound dog crying all the time. For her to be a black female artist coming up wasn't an easy road for her. She had a really difficult time trying to break in, but she was actually phenomenal in what she did.
Willie Mae Thornton made Hound Dog famous. I know Willie Mae Thornton as Big Mama Thornton. She was queer, she was revolutionary for her time. We absolutely need to recognize that this was a woman who contributed so much but got back so little.
The Blind Boys of Alabama, they are still going strong. I mean, to hear them harmonize together is simply hair-raising. It will make the hair on the back of your neck stand straight up. They're still active. They still do a lot of things. Of course, this is one of their jackets, and I have no idea if that's custom made, but it's sharp. Yeah. It's sharp, and they are always sharp when they show up.
You know, I found out that hate is something that is taught. We don't come up hating anybody. My mother never taught us to hate. It's like going to the back of the bus. They never pointed out that, you know, you gotta go to the back of the bus. You just went to the back of the bus because you enjoyed going to the back of the bus. That's where your friend was at and you had a good time.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So it was cool with me. We didn't have any problems.
I grew up in New York, so we really didn't have a lot of that going on. It wasn't really black against white or anything. Not like Clarence and George and Jimmy, they all experienced where they couldn't go to. They told us many stories how they couldn't go to certain places. They couldn't sing, they couldn't eat where the rest of them, they would play there, but they couldn't eat, you know, where the rest of them eat. They couldn't use their, you know, bathroom, they couldn't drink their water. So they have went through a lot, but we actually have endured because we were the next kind of generation.
The civil rights movement was a fight to end segregation and to give Black African Americans the right to vote, access to education, equal opportunity, and fair treatment.
To do the work, you need three things.
When this institute was opened 31 years ago, the motto was inspired by the past, a vision for the future. And so what is done here is supposed to help us not to repeat the mistakes that have been made and to chart a better way forward. We start with a video on the origin of Birmingham that plays for 8 minutes, after which you walk into the galleries from the perspective of 1921 and not 2024. And you go forward in time and it brings you all the way back here to the present.
Access to schooling particularly was really important during times of segregation. Black African Americans and children particularly weren't having equal opportunities to be educated.
White classroom, the black classroom. These classrooms both existed at the same time, in the same city, and in the same school system. There wasn't a 4-year high school opportunity for black students because they needed black people to work in the mills and in the mines. So your education ended at the 10th grade. Segregation was designed to create and inequality in society. Across the street at the 16th Street Baptist Church on April 9th, 1963, in a packed house, Dr. King stood right here at that pulpit, and he talked to them about his 4 little children and a dream that he had. Months before he gave the I Have a Dream speech at the Lincoln Memorial, he stood here and gave it in Birmingham, Alabama at the 16th Street Baptist Church. A couple of days later, he's arrested, and when he's arrested, he's locked up behind these very bars. He sat behind here when he wrote the letter from Birmingham jail. How ironic is it that jail bars can be a symbol of freedom? You can lock up a body, but you can't lock up a spirit.
From recording in Muscle Shoals Studios, where they created a bubble of, in their own way, safety against what was everything that was happening. Safety within music, within song, within collaboration.
Music and like having institutes like this offer a safe place for those feelings to be explored. I think it's really important to not forget history, you know, in terms of being able to see how far we've come, but how far we still need to go.
Alabama Centennial by Naomi Long Magic. They said, wait. Well, I waited. For 100 years I waited. In cotton fields, kitchens, balconies, in bread lines, at back doors, on chain gangs, in stinking colored toilets, in crowded ghettos, outside of schools and voting booths. And some said later, and some said never. Then a new wind blew, and a new voice rode its wings with quiet urgency. Strong, determined, sure. No, it said, not never, not later, not even soon. Now walk. And other voices echoed the freedom words. Walk together, children, don't get weary. Whispered them, sang them, prayed them, shouted them, walk. And I walked the streets of Montgomery until a link in the chain of patient acquiescence broke. Then again, sit down. And I sat down at the counters of Greensboro. Ride, and I rode the bus for freedom. Kneel, and I went down on my knees in prayer and faith. March, and I'll march until the last chain falls, singing, we shall overcome. Not all the dogs and hoses in Birmingham, nor all the clubs and guns in Selma can turn this tide. Not all the jails can hold these young black faces from their destiny of manhood, of equality, of dignity, of the American dream. 100 years past due now.
I know a place.
There was talk of David Hood being around, maybe dropping in at the session at some point, and to get the call to say he's here and he's waiting for you at the studio was like, right, okay. It was probably a good thing that I didn't have time to overthink that interaction, just sort of turn up and be there and be able to sort of dive in on a conversation.
I think he was really enjoying having a conversation with a couple of players rather than a journalist.
Usually we would get a song in an hour, and our charts were really good. When you're used to using the charts, you become good with that. Barry did it back in the old days, then Clayton Ivey, Randy McCormick. I'm always happy to learn something new, but I'm also wanting to sound like I'm playing what the music's supposed to be.
It's all about serving the song, and I feel like that's the...
Always. Well, maybe this is the time to go in the studio.
Yeah.
Do you feel like going over to record?
Yes. I feel good.
He didn't look a day over 80, and he's 81.
Yeah, once we got things where we wanted it, we never changed the positions or anything. We always stayed,
Yeah.
you know, in our respective corners.
So Roger was always in that booth there. Of course, David close to him.
Well, that's my corner there.
And this is your old basement?
Well, yes. I bought that new. In fact, the lower cabinet, I paid $100 for, I think.
Wow.
But that's stuff I used back in the day. That's a tuner.
So that's what a tuner looked like back then?
Yeah, that's a Strobel tuner.
Let's move over to York.
Yeah. Yeah, here's one of my chord charts.
Still crazy after all these years.
Well, that's what.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's what he was saying about the.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a seventh. That's a flat ninth. That's a seventh. S4. Wonder what that is. And then you got three little marks next to the.
Those are like beads.
Right.
You can't see it from here,
but just three little.
Yeah, those like beads.
So that's about the time.
We recorded that in New York.
Oh, so he took you up there rather than come down here?
He came here, but we did both. We always like to have a mic and go direct. Right.
The chance to get to, you know, that he was so taken by the moment that to pick up an instrument and play and sort of hear little snippets of like Staples singers tunes coming out within that playing and going, he came up with that line, you know, that's not...
Yeah, that's his.
I was so happy for David, you know, and he just picked it up like, it's always been like an extension of his arm. He had not played the bass in over a year. Not even really picked it up.
I can't remember who it was that sort of said, you're not going to sit on the drums and play a little bit. Was if you wrote down the best case scenario of what would happen in that moment, it kind of came true and was there, and that's something that doesn't happen at all in life.
It's probably the first time I've touched a bass in several months.
Feels nice though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It makes me know I need to do it more.
I guess they say don't meet your heroes, but that was only, you know, an amazing experience to meet David Hood.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
You're the bass player?
I am a bass player, yeah. And we've got another bass player. So slight.
Yeah, Michelle,
Bass
lovely
players
to meet
convention.
you.
The feeling that he's just kind of like one of us, you know, he was responding so well to talking about music and sessions and reminiscing about the past in a kind of musical way. So you can just tell he just sort of lights up over the same things that we do.
That's how he feeds his soul. And you notice how natural he looked just picking up the bass. He's done this his whole life. And y'all had just created the perfect mojo in that room for him. He was playing off the kindness and your professionalism and your love for his craft.
Plays good.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of your way so you can plug it in.
Wasn't expecting that.
No pressure. Come on. I thought you came here to play.
We actually ended up playing a little bit of I'll Take You There for David Hood. A real special moment for everybody, I think. We were all singing it in the studio.
I'll take you there.
Great.
I'll take you there. I'll take you there. I know a place.
Him being the humble guy that he is, I'm sure he understands the effect that the music's had on people like us, but I think he could see it and really feel that from us, and I think it gave him a lot of joy, that.
Yesterday, when David was here, and y'all were playing I'll Take You There together, that was a magical moment. Couldn't stop smiling, you know, when he got home. I mean, just for hours, smile. So David was born again today.
We are in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, at 3614 Jackson Highway.
The room is magic. It's proven in all the hit records that came out of here.
It's almost like it just feels, I don't know, feels like Alabama.
Well, it is also true that it is in the middle of nowhere, and you cross the Tennessee River as you go to get there, and it feels rural, and it feels just not a big city. You know, studios are usually in big, busy places.
To step into a room where some of the most legendary musicians have been and recorded was so precious.
Just very surreal, really. You looked around and just saw pictures of all the artists that have played in there.
Keith Richards loved this room. It was one of these numbers. You just popped it. This studio, he called it rock and roll heaven. They would call it the secret room. It was somewhere where Steve Winwood or Mick Jagger or Willie Nelson could hang out and nobody knew they were here. So they got privacy. Pretty sure there were debaucherous things that took place.
Even this room we're in, which is where we're supposed to hang out, is covered in iconic albums and gold records.
It was amazing being there with a like-minded group of musicians that were trying to achieve something.
Yeah, that feeling of let's make something memorable.
It can be done all in one room. We recorded, I think, 12 tracks.
But we definitely had a very long day in the studio.
We recorded for maybe 14 hours. I'm pretty sure we could have carried on for another 3 days.
But just like hearing the room sound, that it happened here. This is where this was recorded, you know, and you just hear the space and hear the instruments in that space and go, this is the sound of this room, you know.
You hit the drum and you went, it's that sound.
The choice of Wild Horses, I think it's always been a favourite of mine, and knowing it was recorded there, I suppose I might have jumped on that one fairly quick. We just fell into recording that tune. It just seemed the right one to do.
Test recording.
Yeah, it was a test recording. It was. Just seemed the right moment, and I think the version that we got is special, to be honest.
Wild horses, we'll ride them someday.
My own songs were Boulder to Birmingham by Emmylou Harris and Do Right Woman, Do Right Man by Aretha Franklin.
Take me to heart.
And as soon as it started, I was like, wow, that really works. That feels really good. Wow, I'm really here. This really does sound this good.
Show some respect for me. If you wanna do right all day.
The sisterhood energy between myself, Lauren, Michelle, Toria, and St. Catherine's Child was phenomenal.
I suppose what Neil Young was singing about, the subject still needs addressing again and again, of how bad things can be. Music has a way to really hit that home.
Southern man, better keep your head.
With what Neil Young was getting at, as you say, it was more about the South in general, and a lot of those areas where a lot of that racism was still around and thriving. Really, people needed to be reminded or told this is no longer acceptable. I think to have a version of Lost Souls, it seemed to add another level to the feel and the meaning of that song.
Lost souls return home.
It's all about reconnecting with things and the connections with people, that they never go away, you know. Lost Souls Return Home, you know, and it feels like that song felt special being recorded in that studio in that way.
I know a place ain't nobody crying, ain't nobody smiling faces, lying to the races. I'll take you there.
From the first note, you are just in the song. It feels kind of standalone to me, that song. It feels like there's not been any other groove and like vibe that is like that. And it just makes you feel good when you hear it. That bass line is just so cool. And I feel like that song really represented hope within the civil rights movement, and it kind of gave people a vision of like what life could be like. I'll take you to a place where the civil rights movement has succeeded.
What was happening that we didn't know, they didn't know, Mavis didn't even know, is the work they were doing was moving the needle in the civil rights quest in the right direction. And that was just an unintended, beautiful consequence. It just happened that a lot of this message music and the fact that they were working with people of color together in this oasis of a studio moved the needle.
So we had some local horn players playing on You Got the Love. We had Brad on sax and Steve on trumpet, and we did that cool version of You Got the Love where they just kind of just brought so much soul and funk to that track. It's great.
You got the love. Vibey, I kept hearing the word vibey. We say greasy, vibey. We got a lot of expletives that we use too, man.
Lauren Housley's singing You Got the Love in Muscle Shoals Sound Studio was just so phenomenal. It was so great to be part of that song and to pay so much respect to Candi by recording that song. It was just such an honour to take the song and take the spirit of Muscle Shoals and its sound and portray our own version.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Boom.
That was the one.
Well done, guys.
Freedom Highway is a song by the Staple Singers. It was a prominent song during the civil rights movement as it moved people to march.
March for freedom's highway. March each and every day. Won't you help to sing?
We worked on a really long list of songs for the soundtrack with Michelle Stoddart. The list was made up of songs from three camps. It would either be songs that were famously recorded at Muscle Shoals or songs that were recorded by Alabama artists or written by. The third option was freedom songs to do with the civil rights movement.
I believe most songs are freedom songs. We all know Redemption Song as a Bob Marley classic, and it's been covered by so many over the years. But to truly listen to the lyrics and the sentiment behind his honest request for an open conversation, it's really powerful.
To do the work, you need three things: truth, love, and commitment.
I wrote Truth, Love and Commitment in 2020 when a lot of people were reflecting on systemic racism and white privilege. It's about committing to the cause of anti-racism. It's my take on a modern day freedom song.
Just open your heart and your fears will go. You've Have you ever stood in the darkness of night, screaming silently, you're a man?
I felt connected to this song in particular. I quickly realized how important this song was, and the album, at the time, when it was released and recorded in 1969. It was like a milestone in the black music movement. I then later learnt how much Elaine Brown stood for and how brave she was being a black woman singing her truth. And she spoke up for LGBTQ rights, about black women in music, and led the Black Panther movement in the mid-70s.
People get ready. We listen to soul, we listen to the music of Alabama. It's in our scripts, you know, it's all around us. We're influenced by it because it's a spiritual force.
You know, we've all been influenced by this music from Muscle Shoals.
You know, all the stories about the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and how they were so influenced by just soul music out of Alabama in many ways.
I guess songs like Mustang Sally kind of became staples over here at people's like special occasion. It'd be blasting out through the DJ system and I'd be dancing to these songs as a kid. My parents would know every single word.
I grew up sort of in the northwest and ended up going to college in Wigan. I remember going to loads of soul nights and sort of getting sort of swept away by that sort of northern soul scene. A high point in the night, Land of a Thousand Dances, was always a, you know, huge sing-along moment. The drum break's just like so infectious. It's just a total dance floor filler, you know.
The best music comes from any form of adversity, really. If you're from a working class area, whether it be Liverpool or Newcastle or Sheffield or somewhere northern Manchester, you know, it's either go into the local industry and work within that, or do this thing that seems so hard to break into, but you just for some reason you want to do it so much. I think we can all relate to that wherever we're from, because it's either you've got to be good or you're just going to go back to your day job. So they just had to be good.
I don't know. It's just hard work, and it's just people, and the love of music. It just comes from the heart, and I think that's what it is, that the guys here don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of the music.
I think it's massively impacted the UK music scene, but it just has.
You don't have to be American to play Americana music. It's a global appreciation for an art form.
There was a guy that wrote a song here about Rick, and it said, the down in Muscle Shoals, they record until you run out of tape. Well, that's what you did. You record until you run out of tape. And you thought you couldn't get me to talk.
September 15th, 1963, this church was bombed. The 4 little girls were killed. One girl lost her eye.
This church was one of the churches that were holding the mass meetings, and some of the bigger mass meetings with Dr. King and Shuttlesworth and others.
The sticks of dynamite were placed outside of the stairs.
It went off at the wrong time. Nobody was supposed to be here. It's the way he had it timed to where the church would be empty. And it went off at a time when not only people were here, but children. Remarkably, this stained glass window here is one of the ones that was also damaged, but this particular window, only the face of Christ was blown out. The rest of the figure, the body, was remained intact. But the face, just the face, not the hair, not the head.
That is weird.
Just the face.
That
was
is
blown
so
away
weird.
on that window.
Your face will be the first face I want to see. I wrote a song.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, your face will be the first face I want to see. I wrote a song on one of my gospel albums.
Wow.
And that's the face that everybody's going to see. And that's what the devil didn't want you to see.
People had started calling this Birmingham because there were so many bombings taking place. So not just this church, but others had been targeted, like Bethel had been bombed as well. Reverend Shuttlesworth's the parsonage, where he stayed right next door to the church, was bombed on Christmas Day. Areas of town where black people were not supposed to live on a certain side of the street. You had to have your house on one side, whites on one side, blacks on the other side. And if you dare move to the other side, your home would be bombed. There were 2 young men that were killed that day, 2 in different incidents.
Okay, they weren't here though.
They weren't here.
But they died that same day.
Yeah, one of them was killed by a police officer, and one of them was killed by some other boys.
Goodness, God bless their souls.
Deadly day.
I call it the Bloody Sunday. And when I came in here this morning, I felt sadness. It like set off the civil rights. It really got into gear after that bombing. They saw how serious that this racism really was. I was crying, I was screaming, I was praying. My kids were crying. I said, lay down on the back of the floor, get on the floor. God just guided us so safely through that, all of that chaos.
Yeah, churches are often a place of safety, so to have the church targeted in this particular time, an actual church, a place of safety and meetings where black people could feel just one place where they could feel safe.
It affected my little boys were screaming, we gonna die, Mom? Are we gonna die? I said, no, we're not gonna die. We're not gonna die, we're gonna get through this. And now when I hear about people rioting and people doing stuff like that, that memory comes back because I know how they feel. I know how they feel. That is not a good feeling. I wrote a song, it's on my new album, it's coming out. It's called 1963. Lord, Lord, Lord. Oh, Lord, have mercy.
When I talk to foot soldiers, they talk about how when they were children and the hoses and the dogs were turned on them for protesting. And one woman told me that the first time they were hosed with that water, they were so scared. But then at some point, they started thinking about the songs that they sang when they came to the mass meetings. And when you see them being hosed and that powerful hose is, you know, making them fall to the ground, they were singing those songs. And the police officers and the firemen that were doing that to them couldn't understand why they were singing instead of screaming. But it got to the point where that was their motivation, the songs that they sang when they came. And it protected them. And they were, you know, no one died from that. They just kept moving.
March the Freedom Highway. March.
I was walking the same walk in the same places that Black African Americans had walked peacefully to protest against segregation and inequality.
Made up my mind, and I won't turn around.
We're standing in hallowed ground, Kelly Ingram Park, because the battle that took place in this park revolutionized this country. It was fought with faith and a strong adherence to the principles of nonviolent passive resistance. Come right this way.
Wondering in their minds what's gonna happen.
They went through this days on end. Those young people couldn't give up. And so they came back May 2nd, May 3rd, May 4th, May 5th, May 6th, day after day after day, until the city of Birmingham gave in, and not them. You see this young lady, she has her back turned because this is so powerful that it could literally pull the bark off the trees in this park.
Made up my mind.
those are the dogs.
When you look at these dogs, it's important to understand that size-wise, they're not greatly exaggerated. The youngest demonstrator in this park was only 6 years old. Hatred is something that has to be combated on all corners of our globe and with all people. Yeah.
For freedom's highway, march each and every day. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around, 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 and I won't turn around.
When I think about the power of music to transform people, to transform, minds and hearts, it was a critical element. I think all of those parts coming together, the bravery, tenacity of Reverend Shuttlesworth and the other ministers who helped him to form the original organization, the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights, but then adding the choir added like almost a secret ingredient, if that makes any sense, because no matter who you are, music will move you.
It was about the fight for life. Freedom songs were a very powerful tool during the civil rights movement because they helped African Americans and those fighting to end segregation keep faith, strength, motivation, and resilience.
The music that we did, Nobody's Fault But Mine, and different songs that were sang back there were songs like You're Gonna Make It, and
Wade in the Water,
all that.
Freedom Road,
all those kind of songs gave them inspiration so they could keep on doing what they were doing.
Experiencing the Carlton Reese Singers at Bethel Baptist Church was one of the most breathtaking experiences of my entire life.
Paul and Silas thought they got lost. The dungeon popped open and they all walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, why don't you hold on? Hold on.
That choir sung every night somewhere in Birmingham. At one point, they sung for about 65 nights in a row all over Birmingham. 60 churches every Monday night. People could gather all over this county. What do we do next? What's the next march? Our next strategy? So the choir moved people once again out of comfort zones into streets, lunch counters, then front seats in buses.
Freedom is just ahead. Freedom is just ahead. There's nothing for us to dread. Nothing for us to dread. No, we are not afraid. We are not afraid. For Jesus Christ has bled. So we are moving on. We are moving on. Our faith is mighty strong. It won't be very long till we are free. Oh, freedom is just
When everything else goes wrong, I turn on my gospel music. And I sit there and it soothes me and it just lifts me. And it brings me out of depression and anxiety. And it's been there all my life. And I'm never gonna live. I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up the King's Highway. chorus? Yes, ma'am. All right. I got to get a little bit of this. I just felt this urge. You need to get up there, get up there, get up there, and sing with this wonderful choir.
And we were then invited to join the whole choir. I've never felt so alive, actually, as I did that day.
Birmingham, and we become an example for the world, that even Nelson Mandela would say that sometimes when he felt discouraged and that his work was in vain, he just thought about Birmingham, and that if we could overcome, so could they. Hearing the music inspires people still today.
So this is Birmingham. This is Birmingham in 2024. But how does the Magic City come from being the tragic city? Well, the early beginnings of Birmingham was like any other state in this country. It was built on promise. It was built on freedom. It's here at this amazing and incredible space that a man born in 1890s, Arthur George Gaston, would create luxury for Black people. This was a Green Book location. The Green Book is so incredibly vital to the survival and the safety of Black people. I think about me as a wife and mother of 4. What would my travels have looked like in the 60s if I couldn't have a safe space to rest my head, or for my young daughters to use the restroom? The Civil Rights Act was created in '64 thanks to Birmingham, Alabama. So if you are white, no matter your gender, no matter your accessibility, civil rights said we all deserve those freedoms. And so how does a man born in 1890s in a country that said he was property, how does he go along to amass multi-million dollars? He sows a seed in his community, a servant leader who created a burial policy. And now we have the motel. We have the federal government, the National Park Service, collaborating with the city of Birmingham to protect and restore and educate. And so this is not just the foundation of a movement, it's the continuation of the fight for freedom. And so welcome to Birmingham. That's all I got for you now.
Oh, that was phenomenal.
That's all I got for you. That's all you get. Okay.
For freedom's highway.
There's a resurgence in the Shoals area. Due to, I'm not necessarily sure where it's coming from, but I'm glad it's happening. I would like to say that I'm just going off their backs and just like picking up the torch where Wilson Pickett and Aretha Franklin left off, but I'm not even gonna try to wear those shoes. I don't want them. Put them back on the shelf. We can give some recognition to Single Lock Records. They're putting a lot of artists on mainstream from our area right now.
There's probably nearly 60 years of age range from like the youngest to the oldest musician on stage today. That's pretty unique.
I perform on a couple of bills with Spooner now, which is crazy. And I'm glad that they even like pay attention to what we got going on. Because they don't really record anything too new. But for them to be so focused on the younger generation it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I feel as if the music that we're making and creating now is really in reverence to what they did. They're definitely an inspiration still. And because that inspiration is there, it just kind of pushes you to make the sound that you're creating a little better.
Never wanted any of them. They seem to choose their own course.
There's a lot to be said for Huntsville and North Alabama and the legacy and love of music. We're really standing on the shoulders of like a David Hood right now. You know, this place exists because of Muscle Shoals Sound Studio and the Swampers, right? Let's pack this place full of nonprofit events, community events, local music showcases. What can we do to really lean into Huntsville and North Alabama and, you know, partner with like Fame and partner like all these organizations that like needed somewhere to go and be elevated. That's the whole dream, yeah.
So this year we got an award from Venues Now for our artist garden. We actually use all of the plants, the fruits, herbs, vegetables, everything we grow in this garden in our food and beverage service. Neil Young came to the Orion specifically because of our sustainability program. To have an artist specifically come for that is something that's just phenomenal. And it's really special to us because Ryan Murphy, that was his show that he really wanted to have put on at one of his venues, and he was able to get that because we are sustainable.
We have an incredibly brilliant community. We do have the largest per capita of engineers and scientists of anywhere in the United States. Music has always played a part here. Obviously, we're very close to Nashville. We're very close to Muscle Shoals, very close to Memphis. So there's always been a musical heritage in this community.
We were able to take a pretty big spotlight and shine it heavily in North Alabama. And I think before, you know, whether it be the Muscle Shoals documentary, the space program, and what people know for Huntsville, et cetera, we were able to take pieces of that, incorporate it in this beautiful venue. And for us, it was really important because we knew coming into Huntsville, it wasn't gonna just be about Huntsville, it was about North Alabama. It was about Alabama.
I think everyone that we met and chatted to just really want to keep this legacy going, and it is really important because it's such a special place, and I just feel like this is how much that music means to people. They want to be able to like be in those spaces and see it for themselves and really just absorb that energy.
I get such a blessing out of being able to share with people and people that it means something to, and we have so many tourists that come in here. Sometimes they'll come in tears that they're so excited about just being able to be in this building. It's just such a blessing to me to be able to share it with them and to bring joy to other people and let them see what Rick has accomplished and see what the dream can be if you really work and if you really want something, you can do it.
We're still recording. We did Steven Tyler recently, Demi Lovato, Turnpike Troubadours, so we're doing it every day. The artists are drawn to a lot of things, but you know, a lot of it's the history, a lot of it is they just want to record where Aretha or where Dwayne Allman recorded or Wilson Pickett. But, you know, and then a lot of it's the musicians. We have, you know, a wealth of amazing studio musicians and songwriters and talent. So it's a combination of all those things.
There's amazing musicians just everywhere. You go to get a cup of coffee and you see somebody has a couple Grammys. There's not many places like that on earth, in my opinion.
Our mission is to celebrate the legacy and sustain the sound. And celebrating the legacy is what we're doing right now. We're talking about the magic. Sustaining the sound requires some level of recording to keep the dream alive. We've had 145,000 visitors from 40 different countries since we opened. Of that 145,000, 30% are not from the United States. Dr. Dre saw the Muscle Shoals documentary in a tiny theater in Santa Monica, California. He was with his friend Jimmy Iovine. He was so captivated that he decided that night on the spot to start a philanthropic wing of Beats Electronics and to call it Sustain the Sound. And the mission of the philanthropy would be to take iconic studios like ours and restore them to their original condition. I said, if we're going to restore this place, it's got to be restored like it was. It can't be slick, but we got to leave the funk intact.
In 2010, my colleague Dana Strong had approached me and said, no one's ever honored Muscle Shoals. So we were the first organization to recognize and honor the music and the history and the legacy of Muscle Shoals. They did a 2-hour tribute concert led by the Swampers. They brought up guest singers. It was just pure joy.
I'm so proud to be a part of Muscle Shoals.
After diving into the Muscle Shoals experience and bringing that to Americana, that led us to go to Memphis to bring Booker T. It led us to go to Mississippi, which led us to bring Cassandra Wilson, Buddy Guy, Mavis Staples, inspirational voices that one might not have considered to be Americana 25 years ago. This is inspired by gospel. This is inspired by Cajun Zydeco, by rock and roll, by traditional country. It's way more than what the original concept of Americana and the association was designed to do. So much of the music, Americana music today, is inspired or derived from American roots traditions. And they're Black, and they're Hispanic, and they're Scottish, they're Indigenous, and that blender, if you will, comes to fruition in what I think is our greatest art form, which I do call Americana.
I want to particularly thank my wife, Linda Kay, who's put up with me all these years and put up with my carryings on. But my son told me before I came up here, he said, do me a favor, Dad, be humble and make it short. So thank you. Thank you very much for this. This is incredible. Thank you.
When he passed, I had spent my whole life making him happy and doing for him. And after he passed, I thought, what am I going to do with me without him? Because I don't have him to make happy anymore. It don't take a lot to make me happy. And I was sitting out here at the red light, and I looked down here at the studio, and I thought, well, that's one thing I can do to still make him happy, is try to keep his legacy going, try to keep his business going, and help Rodney do what he's wanting to do. So that's what I did. I'm 82 years old and still working every day.
Music has probably an opportunity, probably more so than anything else, where you think to spread messages of universal love and peace.
And music can change the world. We've seen it happen. So my hope and prayer is it can move us into a much better place.
I think these songs will live on forever, and they'll continue to teach us. And, you know, like Candi Staton says, this is life music.
Thank the Lord.
Not only have we learned so much from what came out of Muscle Shoals, but it almost felt like us being there, we were actually giving something back. You know, it felt like we were giving a really positive energy back to people, and it was really well received, and there was a real positivity about that. We're so pleased that we can give something back as a thank you for all the inspiration that we've received.
We were enriched by being there and being able to participate in their music world and seeing where it had come from and having a sensation that we were participating in that story.
When it comes to recording, people often think about gear and they think there's some kind of magic formula. What sort of really rings true from this process is that it's about people.
It's about people being in a room together and just having a great time and creating something.
It's what happens when you put good people together to be creative. That's what it is. The creative process is a community process.
The beauty of connection, musicians coming together, people coming together, it overrides and creates such magic.
The way that they made music kind of echoes, what they're like as people, which is, just friendly and warm and welcoming.
It's called Southern hospitality.
So it is.
Everyone was just wanting to know your story as well as you wanting to know their story. Very, very much a two-way conversation, you know.
Visiting both Fame Studios and the Muscle Shoals Studios is a real pleasure for anybody who's a fan of music. That's why they have visitor centres in them both, you know, where you can buy the T-shirt and the books and so on.
But when I go out of town, I wear a shirt that says Muscle Shoals every time I go to the airport. And I have people, just like you guys, stopping me going, "You're from Muscle Shoals, tell me about it."
I was totally struck by sort of natural beauty in Alabama. There would be this whole side to Alabama that would be just a great family trip. I was sad that we couldn't spend more time at the Space Centre, so that will be definitely something that I go back to and hopefully take the family and scratch the itch of seeing big rockets and space travel and all that sort of thing.
I really enjoyed driving over the Tennessee River the few times that we did it, and that bridge, and it's not something that you're going to find replicated in Europe somewhere. You know, if you want to feel like that, you're going to have to go there.
You can't help go to places like Alabama and Muscle Shoals, and it not impact on how you're thinking moving forward.
You can come out of those situations and sessions like that changed forever.
It's out of this world, really, getting the chance to be there and record. I mean, an absolute huge dream come true, and incredible experience.
I would love to go back and have a little bit more time in the studio, maybe at least a couple of days to see what we could get done. Maybe go back and record some of the songs that we wrote while we were there.
I would like to go back there and maybe try and write a Wild Horses in the toilet. Like Keith did.
I had such a wonderful experience, and I feel inspired to return to Alabama. I want to immerse myself in more of the scene and more of the culture, because there's so much more there to discover. It was incredible.
I think it's amazing that such powerful music came out of something so horrific and grim.
A lot of things have changed in Birmingham. It's a much better city today. Alabama, wonderful place to live. And our nation and all over the world, I just want people to understand that we were an inspiration. And what happened here set the world free.
Some bridges never burn. Impatient spirits wait their turn. Lost soul.